Welcome to this tutorial on configuring Docker on a low-cost Raspberry Pi with a huge external drive. In this video, you will set up Docker so its data lives on the big drive instead of the tiny SD card. The next video will show how to build a Codex image and turn this setup into a farm of cheap AI agents. Imagine your Pi with a small internal disk trying to hold many Docker images. It fills up fast. The goal here is to move Docker's data folder onto a multi-terabyte external drive, so you can build and store lots of containers, including many Codex-based agents. Docker usually stores everything under a default data directory. On Linux, this is typically under the var and lib and Docker path. In this tutorial, you will keep Docker itself on the Pi, but relocate that data directory to the external drive. Start by opening a terminal on your Raspberry Pi. Run the docker information command to see the current Docker root directory. Then run a disk space command to confirm that the internal storage is small and nearly full. Now focus on the external drive. Make sure it is plugged in and mounted, for example, under a folder such as Media and Third Party. Run a disk listing command that also shows file system type, so you can see whether this external drive is formatted as ext4, ntfs, fat, or something else. Docker's overlay storage driver requires a Linux file system, such as ext4. Many cheap external drives are formatted as ntfs or exfat, which causes Docker to fail with storage driver errors. To solve this without reformatting the whole drive, you will create a large ext4 file system inside a single file on that drive. The plan is simple. On the external drive, you will create a 50 gigabyte file called ext4.drive. You will format that file as ext4, mount it at a folder called ext4 under the external drive, and then create a docker-data folder inside it for Docker to use. Before making changes, stop the Docker service. Run the systemctl command to stop Docker cleanly. This prevents Docker from writing to its old data directory while you are preparing the new location. Next, create the ext4.drive file on the external drive using a file allocation command that sets its size to 50 gigabytes. Then run the ext4 formatting command on that file to turn it into a proper ext4 file system. Confirm any prompts that ask whether to proceed. Create a folder named ext4 on the external drive. Mount the ext4.drive file as a loopback device onto that ext4 folder using a mount command with the loop option. Run a disk usage command targeting that folder to confirm that it now shows roughly 50 gigabytes of ext4 space. Inside the ext4 folder, create a subfolder named docker-data. This directory will become the new Docker data root. You can also treat the rest of the ext4 folder as general-purpose storage for logs, experiments, or other files related to your Docker setup. If you already have existing Docker images and containers that you want to keep, copy them from the original Docker data directory into the new Docker-data folder. Use a recursive synchronization command so that all subdirectories and metadata are preserved. Be patient, because this copy can take some time on a Pi. Now tell Docker about its new home. Open the Docker daemon configuration file in a text editor with administrator privileges. Inside the JSON object, add a data-root entry that points to the docker-data folder under the ext4 directory on the external drive. Save the configuration file and close the editor. Start the Docker service again using the systemctl command. Then run the docker information command and look for the line labeled Docker Root Dir and check that it now points to the docker-data folder on the external drive. You may see warnings about missing memory or swap limit support on a Raspberry Pi. These warnings are normal and do not stop Docker from working. To test the new setup, run a simple test container, such as the standard Hello World image, and confirm that it runs successfully. Because the ext4.drive file is mounted manually right now, you should make it automatic. Edit the file system table file with administrator rights. Add a new line that mounts the ext4.drive file as an ext4 file system on the ext4 folder using the loop option, and save the file. Run the command that reloads all file system mounts from the file system table so you can test your changes without rebooting. Verify that the ext4 folder is mounted and that the Docker information command still reports the docker-data folder as the Docker root directory. At this point, your low-cost Raspberry Pi is using a massive, inexpensive external drive to store Docker images and containers. You have a small brain with a huge external memory, perfect for experimenting with many different AI agents and services without filling the SD card. In the next video, you will use this storage layout to build a Codex-based Docker image. That image will let you generate many customized AI agents and run them from this Pi plus drive combo, like a miniature AI agent farm built from cheap hardware. If this configuration tutorial was useful, pause the video and review the steps that moved Docker's data to the ext4.drive. When you are ready, continue to the next video, where you will start building the Codex image and see this storage setup in action.